the gal boxing. She's out of Algeria. And she's made all the headlines. She's made all the news. That's a man. As a matter of fact, you get people that they don't want to say it's a man. They want to sound really smart, and they'll start telling you about the XY chromosome. Yes, the XY chromosome. It's what that athlete possesses. And therefore, biologically, that is a male competing against the females. Now, what an incredible story to have out there. And I want to get right to the point. That is not true. Full stop. Now, I said this on my social media. I said this on the X platform, responding to somebody who went on and said terrible things about this athlete and how unfair it was and it was unjust, and you have a man beating up women, and how dare the IOC not step in? And they have a test, and that test says genetically that woman is a man. And the IBA, the International Boxing Association, is the ones that conducted the test and tried to stop her participation in the first place. The athlete appealed it. It went to the IOC. They said you're in. Now, where this becomes very tough is to get people to listen. And maybe that was just because it was X. Maybe just in 160 characters or less, they're not able to understand this. Let's back up. There's a report that came out and made it onto Peacock, who I hope gets sued to hell and back, that this athlete, the Algerian boxer, did a test that came back stating she had the XY chromosome, which is biologically a male. That's not true. Now, I don't know where they got lost on X, where they thought Chael was coming you woke. I'm not debating the XY chromosome biologically equaling a man. That's not the part I'm telling you is not true. That test was not done. That's the part that's not true. The IBA has never said that test was done. The IBA did find something within her blood work chart that they thought was an inappropriate advantage. And if I'm to be really specific with you, if I'm to quote exactly what they found, I'll repeat what I just said because I was quoting exactly. They found something. Now that is exactly what was written up, guys. Word for word. No one ever stated that it was a genetics test, chromosome XY. It was no part of it. But it was never said to be part of it. They said they found something. Now, that would be extremely inappropriate for them to have information, that kind of personal information. You take somebody's blood, you have information to their chart, whatever that might be. It would be beyond inappropriate to reveal that. In America, it would be called a HIPAA violation. You could not do it. But it must be that way in other places as well, because they didn't do it. They didn't supply it, which would certainly change things. They referred to it as something. So whoever got a hold of that statement in their own mind decided that it was a genetics test representing XY, which would biologically be in the males division. That's what they decided. And it was a very weird thing to do. It was a very weird thing to make that decision based on hearsay coming from a second party of the IBA. Now, I'm not telling you we got to question the IBA. I'm telling you to take hearsay, but then to change the story so drastically. The IBA said they found something. The person that got that report said it was an XY and it was and that was just weird right from Jump Street. Like as soon as I heard XY, that's weird. As soon as I hear chromosome, that's weird. Because that's not how people talk. I mean, I got to put up with the vernacular. Let's change it right now. biologically. I've heard that word before in my life. I've used that word before, not 5 times. In my life, and I've even taken biology classes, I have not said biologically 5 times. I have not. And now you hear it all the time. When what they could do is take that word out and just say the word real. But it's a very weird thing. Real, while accurate, is deemed insensitive, and now you got to say biologically. But now we came off of that vernacular, and we went to chromosomes, and we went to X and Y. That right there is a red flag that we have a liar amongst us, because that's not how people talk. I mean, right there when this article came out about a chromosome test and XY, as soon as they said that, it was a massive red flag that we got a BS artist amongst us. Now, the IBA does stand by the fact that they did a test and that something was found. They stand by that. And they tried to ban this athlete from going to the Olympics. That's true. This athlete appealed the IBA to a much higher body. I mean, IBA and the IOC, the International Olympic Committee, these aren't even close. The IBA is a dot on the map, and the International Olympic Committee is the International Olympic Committee. You guys had never heard of IBA. You didn't know it stood for International Boxing Association until I told you a moment ago, and that's okay, but I'm just sharing for you. You have a very small body, right? You have a security guard at the mall versus the head of the CIA, all right? You have a guy that watched a court television show versus a Supreme Court justice. I mean, that is the difference in this. So you defer to the IOC. You defer to the head of the CIA for your information. You defer. It was such an interesting spot to read. It was heartbreaking. It really was. These athletes and these amateur and these Olympic athletes, first off, I just know fighting. People don't go into fighting that had great lives. And people don't do well at fighting that had great lives. So now I'm looking at this athlete. I don't imagine she was Miss Popular in school. I don't imagine she's been asked on a lot of dates. I don't imagine a lot of nice things happened to her. But I do know the sacrifice that it would take to make an Olympic team, let alone to make the Olympic finals. I do know that you're either in your parents' basement, you have no money, you have no job. This doesn't pay. It's a pursuit of a dream because you have a calling that it helps you to represent your country accurately or not, but that is what drives you into this position. So you either live in your parents' house still, or you're 2 or 3 deep in a rented apartment somewhere. Like, it's not great. You're eating SpaghettiOs and leftover. It's not great. It's very hard to do. But there is one payoff, which should you succeed, and only 3 of them will, gold, silver, and bronze, somebody somewhere will pat you on the back and tell you good job. That is the only thing that you get. Like, she doesn't leave this. This Algerian boxer doesn't leave this and go home into a bathtub full of hundreds and diamonds as the big party's waiting downstairs. It's not like that. She's broke. She's an amateur athlete. She's going to go fight 4 people this week and get nothing for it. None of you would have even known she was fighting. Even if she wins the gold medal, you would not even know she was fighting. You didn't watch. You don't look forward to it. That's how much of a nothing you get for this. So now imagine you reach your goal, you sacrificed, you ate the SpaghettiOs, you lived 3 deep down in mom's basement, you did all of these things, and you brought honor to your country. And not only did somebody not tell you good job, which is the only thing you ever hope to get, they now do the opposite. And they tell you you're a man. Imagine those social events. Imagine her in the hallways of school. Imagine how many guys have lined up and asked her on dates. Do you think that number goes up? Do you think life for her gets better? This is such a terrible thing for her to have said about her. And it's not true. There is no test. There is no Olympic athlete in any sport anywhere that supplied a test that anywhere on it talked about XY chromosome. Just so you know. That is not a procedural issue. That did not happen. But moreover than that, nobody said it did. They said they found something. That would be private. That would be their business. She shared that private with a much higher body, and they said, no, everything's fine. So I'm just sharing with you, that's what happened. There's more confusion because the president of the IOC spoke on this, and the president of the IOC did not go out to defend her. He held a press conference to pretend he was defending her, and all he did is cover the IOC to the best of his ability. But where that gets confusing is if that was a male that said, I want to fight the females, they would have let her. The IOC would have let that happen. It's just not what did happen. So when the president goes out and he gives his speech and he gives his talk, pretending it's looking out for that athlete, had nothing to do with that, he was looking out for himself, he knows he's got to deal with it this week because it's coming up in track and field to an athlete that hadn't been on TV yet, and it's coming up in powerlifting, but the person that's probably going to win the whole thing. He's going to have to deal with it. So he was trying to feather the nest and talk about it would be okay, but in the process of doing that, it sounded as though he backed the claim in the first place. I spent 11 minutes and 12 seconds telling you guys this story. I should have been able to do it in one sentence, but I tried that on social media and it didn't work. The claim that that boxer submitted a genetic test that came back chromosome XY, that claim in and of itself is not true. To further that, the IBA, who started this whole thing, never said it was true. They said that they found something that was appealed. IOC, who looks at the WBA as a nothing, which is what they are. They are nothing in sport that matters. My son is a member. We pay our dues. Believe me, when I tell you that they're, I mean, it's the way that it goes. You have to go through this barrier. They have never said anything like that. They just said that they had something. Everything else was created through Peacock and the internet. But if you care about the truth and you care about the reality, I just gave it to you.